So now you got all that experience under your belt. What is a new tool in your acting toolkit, so to speak, that you're going to take with you to future projects that you know you can credit to the Wilds?
One thing that Shelby taught me as an actor is playing the truth in scenes that are unspoken, because for so much of the series there were things going on in her life and in her head that were not expressed in the script because she was hiding a lot of secrets. So what I learned from playing her is being able to play those nuances and those demons that she's got in the back of her mind, but she won't let show. And I think it's very easy when auditioning to be like, I know that she's got a secret and I'm going to try and kind of play that so that the casting directors can see that or whatever it is. But it was a really good learning lesson to be able to play a character who's hiding so much, but still going through so much the entire time. Because I knew once we had gone to season 1, I knew the general arc of her story and what she'd gone through and been going through on the island. So being able to internalize that and not play it is something that I'll take into all my jobs from now on. To be like, okay, that's something that this person's going through. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to be able to internalize it in a way that still comes through her subtly.
You were very successful in that department.
Oh, good. Thank
Because you
you.
brought up the
Glad to.
audition, now it makes me kind of curious. What's the biggest difference between the Shelby you brought to that audition and the one that we see in the final show?
Well, the Shelby that I did two. I did the first audition, then I did the callback. The first audition, I played her quite like, I had little braids in. I made myself look extremely young and quite sensitive. I think I played her quite soft and quite kind of naive. And then you see the Shelby that ended up being created, which was not naive at all. In fact, she is the opposite of naive. She knows what's going on. She knows what she's doing to herself, and she's very good at playing the game and using masks. But yeah, I think in my callback I had a bit more of a spring in my step Shelby that you see in the first couple episodes. But yeah, the great thing about Shelby is that she's constantly changing, which is so just what people do, which is who we are, which is why I love playing her. That human experience. She's multifaceted and very complex.
Yep, that's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
To whether or not you prefer to be able to connect to a character. For Shelby, what aspect of her was the easiest for you to fall into step with? And then, what idea did you really have to kind of sit with in order to get in and get behind that kind of headspace?
Um, it was very easy to match her optimism and positivity and kind of zest for life in devastating situations, because I feel like that's easy for me to do, and especially doing this, it was almost like I wasn't even acting because I was so excited to be there. It was just like could just use that excitement in Shelby, so that was really easy to get behind and use and to play her. That was easy for me. We definitely come from different backgrounds in terms of religion and upbringing. So that was not necessarily hard to do, but definitely something that I had to wrap my head around and get behind, because back in the day I might have met someone like Shelby and been like, oh my gosh, like I just don't agree with so much of the things that she was doing. But I think that's another great thing about playing her, is that I was like, okay, what I need to lay out, like, how do I relate to this person? Like, what parts of me can I find in her and that make her human to me? That, because you can't play a character that you don't understand, that you don't empathize with.
I I'm tempted to save this for spoiler territory, but with that in mind, is there any particular beat for her journey that you really had to talk through with the writers and the folks behind the show? Something you had to, really work on in order to fully understand and be able to move forward with her arc?
I think the dialogue around Shelby's character development, it was always very open dialogue with the writers, and a lot of the things from her backstory were kind of incorporated due to conversations that we've had together. So there wasn't really one pivotal moment where I had to sit down with the writers and go, okay, like talk me through this, because it was kind of, we were growing her together. And they, so it was easy in that sense, but a challenge nonetheless, especially when you get down to further episodes, having to keep those two things separate, but play the truth in it.
It does sound like a really cool collaborative opportunity. And also with any interest in writing you might have, did this experience in working on Shelby like that kind of, I don't know, spark any interest in writing your own scripts?
I mean, I've always loved writing. I've always been a big journaler and a big writer. I never thought that I'd be into writing scripts. Even though I'm so fascinated by it, and seeing the writers in their element was so cool, and like something I was just so happy to see. It's really intense, and there's a lot at stake, and it's hard. So it's not something that I'm going to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm gonna start writing scripts. I'm aware that it's a very hard job, and it's a lot that goes into it that I'm unaware of. So I don't really know if by saying that I'm getting a bit ahead of myself.
You could still say it. You got to start somewhere and then you hone your craft as you go along.
Exactly, that's true.
I'm tempted to ask this, but first I'm going to say, how many times have you been asked if you could survive on a deserted island?
Oh, so many times, but it's a great question. I do.
I'll spin it a little differently here, because I always think about my own chances in survival-like scenarios, whether it's on an island or even surviving a zombie apocalypse. And I actually think I would do pretty well, except for the fact that not having a toothbrush and not having contact lens solution would probably be the things to kill me first.
Yeah.
So if a silly little thing was to do you in a scenario like that, what would it be?
Oh, I think for me, contact with people. I think it's, if I was stranded alone on a desert island, that's what would kill me. Loneliness. It's quite sad, isn't it? That's definitely what I think would kill. I couldn't do like a Tom Hanks Castaway thing where I just make it through. I'd be like, peace. You know what I'm saying? I'd let the tide just take me out. But if I had some people there like the Wilds girls do, I think I'd be okay for a minute, but I definitely wouldn't be as good as Shelby, or as good as any of them. I think they're all like great at doing this.
It's very impressive, and it made me feel a lot better that there was a toothbrush reference, because I do think about that a lot, but also that none of them have contact lenses, because that would terrify me.
Yeah, what would you do?
I always say that if I was in a zombie apocalypse and I couldn't wear contact lenses, I would have to wear glasses, obviously. But then, because this is what happens in every movie, the glasses fall off and then someone steps on them and you're screwed anyway.
Then you're doing these ones. Yeah.
I also might have done some Instagram snooping, because that's part of the job for ladies' night. And yes. I get the sense that you're a little bit of a daredevil because you went bungee jumping.
Oh, yes. I live by the motto, everything is sweetened by risk. And I agree with that. And I love that, especially when I'm young, I'm in my early 20s. Like I want to be taking as many risks as possible before I have like people that I need to consider, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of fun with that. I actually went with Erina, who plays Tony, bungee jumping. And I've been skydiving with my dad. I love it. Scary though. I'm not like one of those people that's like, yeah, let's go, and I'm jumping off like all good. Like I'm terrified.
My mentality is it is what it is, and you can't control it, so you might as well enjoy it.
Exactly.
Although you can kind of control the bungee jump when you're doing it tandem. How do they tell you to jump off the platform?
That was the scary thing. We had to hold each other around at a certain point and just make sure that we were bending down and jumping out and not dropping feet first. Because if we did feet first, then we'd get whiplash. It's the last thing you want to do when you're jumping off a bridge is go head first. So
I went in Mexico, where there was just like rocky death below me.
See, now that would be really hard. It's like, why am I doing this? It's like you get to the edge and you're like, wait, I paid for this. Like, what? It's bizarre.
It's bizarre, but I mean, I'm going to keep embracing those things. That was one of the greatest things I've ever
Oh,
done.
totally.
All right, it's
Totally.
time. I'm just going to put the spoiler warning up. This is too tempting. Spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't seen The Wilds. And just in case you haven't yet, go on over to Amazon, watch one episode, but I'm warning you, you're not going to be able to stop. You're going to binge them all. So have fun with that and then come back to this conversation. All right. So, first off, in my prep, it was very easy to notice that there were a couple of burning questions about Shelby. So I want to get, I guess these aren't the little things, but the behind the scenes practical type things out of the way first. Everyone wants to know if you actually shaved your head and if you really use a flipper. So I know the answers to both of those questions. So instead, what was it like doing the bald cap process? And then what was required VFX wise in order to do the flipper part?
Okay, so the bald cap was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I was walking around and I was like, I'm gonna shave my head. If they wanted me to shave my head for season 2 for the whole time, I would do it. It was so cool. A long time in hair and makeup. They actually flew me to Sydney, which is where I'm from, which was great. So I got to say hi to mum and dad. But they flew me to Sydney to do like a cast over my head. I actually have a photo of it on my Instagram. And that's something that was really hard for me because it's kind of claustrophobic. You're completely covered in like this silicone sort of, I don't even know what it is, that creates a mold of your entire like head to chest. And you're in there for like 20 minutes, like trying to breathe through like these tiny little holes, which was hard, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. They were so good at their job, the people that worked there. So it was great. Then they made a bald cap from that shape of my head and then added each individual hair onto it. Like every single hair on there was like put in one by one. Amazing. So like, wow. Then when we were doing it, I was in hair and makeup for like 4.5, 5 hours, getting it on, then blending it in with my skin. I wasn't able to like eat breakfast or anything because you can't chew with the with it on. So it was hard, but it was so much fun. I just loved walking around in it. It was great. And the teeth, the flipper was like, they just when they just put two little dots on my teeth through the camera, like not on my actual teeth, and just in post edited them out, which is amazing because even when I'm moving and talking, they were just like going shot by shot, frame by frame, and removing those teeth, which is really cool. And then I had a flipper that had the teeth on it, and then a flipper that didn't have the teeth on it. So I had something to click in and something to click out, but they were two different things. So every time I was like, okay, we have to have the flipper in this shot because she's already taken it out. So I have the one with the teeth on it, and they cut, and then I have to put the one with no teeth on it so I can click it in because I actually have teeth there, so I couldn't click in a proper one. So it was very like kind of stop starting. But by the end of season 1, everyone was so used to the process, and they were like, okay, and we were all like pros at it, and we just knew exactly what to do. But at the beginning, it was like, wait, very confusing.
Another unsurprising fan favorite topic is the relationship between Shelby and Tony. Given how you shot the show and how you discovered new information about your characters as you got more scripts, what was it like for the two of you when you found out what path they were going down, especially after becoming close friends after the pilot episode?
It was so thrilling for us. We were just like fists in the air, like so excited that we got to do that. Because every time we read the script and we had scenes together, we were like, yes, because we just loved working with each other. And the chemistry we already had in buckets because we lived together every day and we were just best friends. So it was very easy to have the chemistry there. And we were so excited when we read the script and got to see that we had this storyline because it meant that, because we, both of our characters mean a lot to us, and we want happiness for our characters, and it was nice to see that found in each other's characters and like in each other on set. A beautiful, beautiful time.
It's an especially beautiful part of the show to watch too. You have quite a few elements to your character that I imagine come with some very tough scenes for you to jump into. So is there any particular scene that had you looking at the shooting schedule and circling that day and saying,
Yeah.
that is the day I am most nervous for because of that scene?
It wasn't so much it wasn't so much me being nervous, but there were definitely scenes coming up, especially in episode 8, where you dive into Shelby's backstory, and she has some pretty uncomfortable conversations with her father, especially, that are just traumatizing. That I was looking forward to. I was genuinely looking forward to doing those scenes because that's like what I love to do, is just being challenged in that way. What I wasn't prepared for though was doing those scenes like that and then leaving and thinking, because your brain knows, oh, I'm not going through that, this is obviously just acting, etc. But your body doesn't. Like, your body holds on to that fear that you instill in yourself and that anxiety. And I was leaving and I was like, I get like becoming so anxious, which was so unlike me at that time in my life. So, and I was like, couldn't figure out what it was, but then she was in so much pain, holding back so many things. And so I was doing that to myself to get into character. And then it's like your body, like, it's hard. And then it just made me like empathize with her even more, because I was like, God, like, I don't know how you do it every day, like, in all seriousness.
Have you figured out any kind of like a detox process, like something you can turn to when you're having that kind of day on set to snap out of it?
I often, it started getting easier because it was like I was going back into my Australian accent, which like grounded me a bit more. And was, yeah, I was able to remove myself from Shelby. But also I found putting on my jewelry, like the jewelry that I wear every day, that I now call my anchors. So when I come out of a scene and it's a brutal scene or something and I put on my jewelry, I like, it's me being recentered and back to like my anchors and like who I am. And then I can take them off and go back into it. But in terms of detoxing, yeah, definitely a lot of self-care and just, I think just being open about it. Journaling really helps. Just expressing, for me personally, when I just write something down, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. It just leaves me as soon as I've written it down. So that was a big thing after big scenes, going home, putting on my jewelry, having a shower, getting into your own clothes, and just writing about your day. Just
I
makes
feel
it
like I'm
easy.
not going to forget the idea of calling your jewelry your anchor, like especially as
Yeah.
someone who wears the same stuff all the time. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, I love it.
So, going into season two now. First, let me just ask you some questions so I know exactly what you know and where you guys are at. When did you first hear about the season two renewal?
I found out on, it would have been the, oh, 20, like a week after the show came out. A week after the show came out, I had a screening for my close friends and family for the Wilds, because we couldn't do a premiere or anything because of COVID. So we did a private screening. And it was that night, overnight, I must have been sleeping when it was happening in America. Everyone was like, oh, I woke up and everyone was like, yeah, going crazy about season two. And I was like, what? Like waking up hungover, like trying to figure out what was happening. Yeah.
So now, I mean, not much time has passed since that, but is there any kind of shooting schedule on the table? Do you know when you're going to have to get back into it?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's imminent. I think it's around the corner. I think we're going to like get this done and dusted so that everyone can get a season two as soon as possible. Because I think, yeah, we all just love everyone's love for this show. So we want to like give them back a season two as soon as possible. So I think everyone's doing the best job they can at making that happen.
I like hearing that. Do
Yeah.
you know, have you been told anything about the future for Shelby?
I know where writer wants to see Shelby at the end, at the absolute end of the entire series, where she wants to see Shelby and what she wants to see Shelby doing. So
Hmm.
I know that that's where she's going, but I have no idea what's going to be happening in season two. I think what I've loved so much since this show released is seeing everyone's theories and reading everyone's theories. I'm reading some of these theories and I'm like, oh my God, that's it. You know what I mean? And there's some that I'm like, I didn't even realize were happening that is so true. And I'm like, a lot of these theories are really spot on. So
I have one theory. You could just sit there and react, and we'll really read into your reaction right now. The anaphylactic shock at the end. I know that they mention that she has food allergies, but I think she did it deliberately.
mhm. Well,
Speaking of that, were you the happiest person in the world when you read the script for that episode and you were the only one who didn't have to fake vomit?
yes. Yeah, it was a funny day because everyone like in the hair and makeup truck, like I just had all my normal makeup, which was still like burnt and stuff. But they were all like ghostly white, like sick makeup, and they were all like drinking, like it was like miso soup, and it wasn't, but not as nice as me. It was like miso soup and muesli bars and random stuff. But I also was a little bit jealous because I was like, God, that kind of looks really fun. I don't know. There's something like fun about being able to just be like, "Bleh," like so
Sometimes
just.
we play a would you rather game sometimes, and one of my favorite questions is would you rather have to fake vomit in a scene or fake sneeze in a scene?
I think fake vomit would be more hilarious. Like fake sneezing would be like, and I also think there's so much more room with fake vomit to have fun there. Like there's different sorts of vomits you can, you can do.
Very much
But I
is.
feel like sneezing is kind of one dimensional. I don't know. So I'm gonna go with vomit.
It's difficult to do a convincing fake sneeze, but I guess also if
Yeah.
you're not like opposed to vomiting, like some people are just grossed
Yeah.
out by it and will really do it, then
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, that's another thing about the sneezing thing that's like, gosh, it's this simple action that everyone does, but it can be really easy to be unconvincing. So I'd be kind of scared to do it. I'd be like, there's a lot of pressure on this take, guys. Gotta sneeze.
I'll give you one broader season 2 question before we move into random questions, which is how we end every episode of Ladies Night. Is there any particular quality of Shelby's that you are hoping to explore most in season 2?
Oh, definitely her sexuality and her relationship with Tony and the relationship that she has with herself and her God and who like her sexuality. I really want to see some growth there. I think she's grown so much already. So I don't want to put any pressure, but I think there's so much room there. And I'm really want to see her just find comfort in herself and just not be afraid to be who she is. I really want to see that for her, just personally, because I love that about her.
All right, the time has come. Random questions, random
Right.
meaning they randomly come to my head and I just ask them. If you had to eat one meal over and over for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It's got to be sushi. Big sushi fan. I love sushi.
Solid choice right there. Do you collect anything?
Yes, I collect all the cards and letters that anyone's ever written to me, and I keep them in a little box and I put them in a storage unit in the country. And I've got them all. After a birthday, I've got like my room actually still. My birthday was in August. My room is like I've got to find a better system at collecting these things because they're just everywhere, but I can't let them go. I love them.
You make me feel so much better about my card collecting habit.
You collect cards too?
I never throw away a birthday card, a holiday,
Yeah.
stacks and stacks of them.
Yeah, and sometimes I just read through them, like if I'm like feeling away.
Yeah, I finally grew up a little though, and I took I had a giant binder of every bar and bat mitzvah invitation I had received when I was 13. I saved every one, and I finally threw like they weren't even mine.
Yeah. I love that.
I kind of already know the answer to this one, I think. Do you have any tattoos?
I do. I have lotus flower, an R for my sister's name's Romy, an I, and then a crown. God, I have a few.
You got 4. I'm right. I'm right behind you with 3, and I'm searching for ideas for number 4 now, which is why I asked. My sister has a lotus flower in the same spot,
Oh,
actually.
really? Yeah, there's yeah, that's a funny story behind that tattoo. I actually got it on this wrist when I was like 15 because I just thought I was a very rebellious person. I just wanted to, I don't know, be rebellious. It wasn't who I was at all. So my parents were kind of like, what? So I got it there when I was 15 and my parents were like, no, you're getting it removed. So I went and had to pay for it myself and go and get it removed when I was 15. I removed it, but I was kind of like upset that they made me remove it. I was like, because it was the first thing I did that was like my decision. You know what I mean? It's like, I was so young anyway. So then when I got a bit older, I went and got it redone on my other wrist.
Do I dare ask what they thought of it when you showed that new one to them?
Mum was not happy. She was like, no, she was like not happy about it. Dad didn't care. Dad did not give anything. He was just like, whatever, I'm over it. He's like, I'm genuinely like, don't want to hear about tattoos ever again. I don't care.
Once you start, you kind of can't stop. Or at least I have that problem now. All right.
Yeah.
This last one's kind of serious. You could take it in the deeper direction or keep it light, whatever you want. We always end with this. What is the biggest fear you've had that you've actually managed to overcome?
That's a great question. I have a fear of dying. I used to always have a fear of just dying because I was just so like, and I thought it's when I'm most grateful. It's in my most grateful moments that I think about death. When I'm around people that I love or I'm doing something that I love, I'm like, God, I don't want to die because I love living and I love this life that I'm so lucky to live, and I don't want to lose it. So I used to be quite fearful of that, but I've been able to overcome that now because I think about it now like, oh, I'm so grateful to live this life. And the reason why I'm grateful that I live this life is because I know it's temporary. You know, I know I'm not going to live forever. And that's why these moments I like love so much and are so important, and that I need to cherish because I'm not immortal and it's not going to last forever. And that's why this is a beautiful moment, and it wouldn't be a beautiful moment otherwise. So that's the way that I try and think about it.
I like that way of looking at it. And I always feel like you're always afraid to lose something when you have something special. So you've created
Yeah.
something special, and there's always like a little tinge of that there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to let you go. But thank you so much for hanging out with us on Ladies Night and Talking the Wilds. I'm so happy for you. I can't wait to see season 2 when it comes out, hopefully sooner rather than later, and also everything else you do after it. So, Mia, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved this.